Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm Bill Binko from ATMakers. Most of you already know that, or you wouldn't be watching this. I'm going to chat slowly for a minute, make sure things are up on Facebook and YouTube. And it looks like we are. That's good. Facebook is up, and it looks like YouTube is up as well. So great. So glad you could join us. We are going to talk a little bit tonight about just kind of an update for the summer. There's kind of a lot of little things going on, and a few bigger ones that we'll talk about in a little bit. I do want to be able to share with you some recent successes we've had that have kind of happened behind the scenes, and maybe even explain a little bit why that is. Like my trip to see Chris, we didn't document well, but I'll share it with you. I'll share what happened and what we were able to do. And then I'll probably give you a preview of some stuff that you'll see posted in ATMakers over the next few days from Ian Price and maybe Chris and Dimitri who can't be with us here tonight. Also with me, I've got Chris Young. He'll come up and talk in a few minutes with us about his drone work. Jonathan Lasko is here as well. I think we'll be talking a little bit about administrative stuff, and I'm going to talk about kind of I'm going to give a couple things that are new tips that I find useful, some recent successes, and then some other news. So let's start with some recent successes. Let me share my screen. Nope, not like that. Like that. There you go. So probably the first thing to talk about is actually this device right here. But the context is probably more important. So let me bring up the window. So Ian Price asked back in May, he asked us to help him with his sailing. So he's actually been sailing for a long time. He's got spinal muscular atrophy, and he's been using an adaptive boat that adapts both the tiller and the winch to allow him to control it. You've probably seen this on PBS here in the U.S. I'm not sure what it was up in Canada where it was shown, but there's a video showing how he does this, and it was really well done. So if you haven't seen that, you can go look. I'm sure there's a link to it somewhere in this channel. He used buttons that look like this. He was able to connect this button on his thumb to one of these two on his fingers. He had lost the ability to do that. SMA is a progressive disease, and it takes things over time. And so he was looking for a way to be more, to multiply things out more, where he could have a single press moved one direction or the other, and then a tap and then a hold would do the opposite. And so he asked us, he told us exactly how he wanted the wiring to work, the logic to work. And we had a bunch of help. We had Arash took a look. We had a lot of people give feedback and input. Eventually, he wrote it up well, and I was able to get exactly what he wanted and made a diagram that showed how it was going to work. He answered a lot of questions, and we were able to make this device right here. And so this device right here, I don't know if I can make this go full screen. Yeah, looks like it. So this device right here is using an Adafruit feather. This is actually a Bluetooth feather, but we're not using the Bluetooth part of it. Uses an Adafruit feather and two of these PVT 322 solid state relays, or signal relays. And this was a big test for us. This was kind of important because this particular device will be used in a lot of our designs going forward, because it allows current to flow in either direction, controlled by a single pin from the microcontroller. It acts like a relay, truly like a relay, where the current can go in either direction, and it is controlled without any moving parts. So on the boat, that was important. In the salt air, or even just the moist air, that was important. So we wanted to make this work, and we did. So we worked through it, found a way to make this device work. I have see if I can show you. This is the only one I have open. It doesn't seem right. Okay, it's okay. I have other pictures of this. It doesn't really matter. This is a microcontroller. There are 3 resistors underneath here, 4 resistors underneath here. that control 4 relays, which then go out to his device and act like they're switches. So this was a big deal technically to get a good solution for the solid state relays. And then he actually just sent me back pictures. If I can find them here. He sent me these pictures the other day, which are awesome. So I don't know if I can go full screen here. Nope. But here's a picture of him in the boat using his new switches. This is a video. I think I can do this one full screen. Let's see. So here's a video of him actually using this device to steer the boat. I don't think he's moving the winch at the moment, but he is steering moving the tiller there using his switches. And I'm looking forward to him debriefing and making a video about the experience with the new switch control. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really glad it worked. The sad thing was, Jonathan's cheering. Yeah. So it is something that took forever, not because it took forever to get it done, but because right after we sent it to him, the weather turned south in Vancouver, in the area he is. And every time he went out to go sailing, it was canceled by weather. So we finally got this video the other day. Let me see if I have any other pictures here. I think I have. There he is, getting ready. He's got his switches on his hands. And I think there's another. Yeah, there's him in the boat. And this is actually the automated control that he has. This must be the co-pilot that he brings with him. So these are awesome pictures. Can't wait to see what he does next with it. And I'm really glad that we were able to make this happen. So lots of lessons learned. We absolutely will use the solid state relays again. And we will actually probably make a board. So rather than having something that looks like this and is all kind of messy with a lot of wires, we can put all of this except for the headers onto a board that's pre-printed, and it should be a straightforward thing to design. So we'll do that going forward and not let that die. The second, let me get back to here. Second thing to talk about is actually a continuation of something we started pre-COVID. So before we went on lockdown with COVID, if you guys remember way back when, we actually had just started a drone tour. We went to Chris Young's house, Ella Hunt's house, Steve Spawn's house in Pittsburgh. We were supposed to go to Jonathan and Max's house and fly, and then COVID hit. And on the way to Maryland, we had to cancel that trip. And I'm really excited that we have been able to kind of restart some of this. And Jonathan, we will get up and play with Max in the near future. But I do want to show where we ended up with Chris. So this is a picture Chris Young posted the other day. And so it's got a picture, if I can see here. Yeah, close enough. It won't let me. All right, hold on. There we go. So full screen with my F11 button here. There you go. All right. So here is a picture of Chris, his friend Rich, and I at his house last week. And we are flying a drone. We are flying the same drone we flew last time. Chris is able to take it up, take off, fly, come back, land, have complete control of the drone. The GPS problems we had are now fixed. The first-person view goggles that we were using are working. You can see them sitting right here. This white thing. And it went great. And so he's going to put together a video and post it over probably the next few days. Chris, do you want to unmute and talk for a second?
Well, yeah. I want to say that whatever GPS problems we were having the last time seemed to be resolved. I really felt like I had a lot better control of the device than I did the first time we went flying. Of course, part of that's attributed to the fact that we didn't have a 15-mile-an-hour wind blowing on this day like we did the first
30
time.
degrees too. It's absolutely
and the weather was. We were ducking inside to get cooled off instead of ducking inside to get warm.
Yeah,
like the last time. But I'm really excited about I really felt confident in the level of control I had this time around. One of the things that we need to work on, and I will be very soon. Um, Normally, you control a drone with two joysticks, and I'm using my wheelchair joystick. You can't see it right there, but the joystick is mounted around my neck and up to my face, and I push it with my lips. And so I've only got one joystick, and so we have a push button, and um, it toggles through various three different modes. One of the modes, when you go up, down, left, and right, it moves the drone forward, backwards, left, and right. The second mode, when you go up, down, left, and right, it goes higher or lower or left and right. And then the third mode is it tilts the camera, the onboard camera, up or down, or it rotates the drone left or right.
Right.
And it was hard for me to remember, first of all, what mode am I in right now? And if I click the button, which mode do I go to?
Right.
The reason we had it single switch is because Ella and probably Max were going to be using the same program, and single switch was about all we could ask them to do. But I have three switches in my sling ring that I use on my fingers.
And
so obviously,
right.
If you got three modes and three buttons, we rewrite the program so whichever button you click, that's the mode you go to.
Yeah,
and so that's my next task, is to update the software to do that. And then there are some other functions that Mikhail or Michael or whatever his name is, the guy that Mikhail, has written specialized drone control software for us to use, where it takes Bluetooth keystrokes and controls the drone. And he's got some features in there that we haven't implemented. For example, he does have a way to take off and land.
Right.
Now, the way we've been using it is Bill takes off and then switches control over to me, and I fly around. And I did figure out how to land it. It's not the normal way you land, but it works.
Just push it into the ground, it eventually goes down.
Yeah, if you get it down low off the ground and keep telling it to go down after 5 seconds, it will. Normally, there's a button you can hit to tell it to land. But I'm, as you know, when I use my sling rings, I have the ability to do things like do a long press on a button to do something,
right,
or to do two buttons at once. We call that chording, like you play a chord on a keyboard. And so I think between chording and long presses, I will be able to implement a lot more functions, like turning the camera off and on, or taking still videos, or doing the takeoff and landing.
Yeah, so, I think that it will be so one of the things that we haven't really talked about is that we set up. So you are set up at this point. So we have you in Indiana with the drone, the software. You can get a license from you can install it from Test Flight.
Yeah.
And you've got the goggles and you've got the device. So you've got a device that looks just like this one, that's got 5 switches. You're going to use 3 of them because you have 3 on your sling ring, and a joystick port here. So you've got everything you need right now without me having to come to Indiana to fly the drone whenever you want, right?
And also having my friend Rich there, who's recently retired, and gives him the opportunity for us to hang out a little more. He sort of got a lesson in how to assist me with it. And so he and I can go flying whenever the mood and the weather and the circumstances allow. And we can update the software and really do some further development on it.
Yeah, and I think your work recently on the config file editing for Arduino probably will be very, very important to this, right? So
one of the things I have to do is I'm using my Freedom Wing on a daily basis to control my computer's mouse.
Right.
And it's got a stacking header on it because I put a little LCD screen on the front, and my Bluetooth enabled feather, my NRF feather, doesn't have a stacking header. So anytime I want to switch from my mouse to flying the drone, I have to disassemble all the stack and put new boards on top of new boards, and it's kind of a hassle. So
Yeah.
once I get it where I can just
You have
upload
the
different
request
stuff,
in. I have to ship you a Bluetooth one with headers on it, right?
yeah. But once I get that worked out, where all I have to do is just upload new software depending on what I want to do, then we'll be able to play around with it a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So we have a question from Chris O'Dowd, over friend from Microsoft. What drone are you using? So in this case, Chris, we're using a DJI Spark. Um, it, right now, the reason we're using the DJI Spark is an out of date drone. It's a great drone. It's a drone that they didn't really replace in the market. DJI came out with the Mavic Mini, which isn't quite as good, or the Mavic Air, which is a lot more expensive. So there's not really a replacement product in the market for the DJI Spark. The reason we're using it is that I have one. I actually now have two. But more importantly, the API has allowed Michele Avignetti, who lives in Italy. He lives in one of the autonomous states inside of Italy, San Miguel, San something. That he was able to write the controller that allows keyboard inputs to drive it. I would much rather be flying the Skydio 2, which we had, and Chris, we had fun playing with it while we were out there.
yeah,
But
you need to send me that video too.
I
I
have
want
that
to.
video. I can certainly send you that video.
You can
Yeah,
Dropbox that or whatever to me.
I will do that. So we flew that, but we didn't. Chris didn't fly that because there's no keyboard control for it. We will work with Skydio to add keyboard control to that because it is the best drone to be flying with this community because it can't hit anything. It won't run into anything. I mean, it's very hard to make it run into anything, as we showed. So Chris says same as last time. Yep, same one as last time last year. Slightly different software, but yes. Let's see. You can technically use one button as a short or long input to create combinations similar to Morse code. Yes, and so Baby Fisher, you posted on YouTube. I'm glad you joined us. Yes, Chris is he's kind of the expert on milking as many activations as possible out of as few points as possible, right, Chris? And you've got basically
I've done a lot of it. Let's say that.
yeah. So absolutely, yes, we can do a lot more. And I think what I did was I tried to make a solution last year that would work for Chris and Ella and Max and Steve Spawn without me having to write 4 sets of code. Obviously, Chris can make one that is perfect for him, and I'm sure it will be very effective. And then he can make modifications for the others as well. So I think this is a good thing. I do have some video I need to send Chris of video of us playing with the Skydio. We did a really bad job, Chris, of documenting this. We didn't take any pictures of us except for the ones from the drone, and that kind of stinks because we.
Well,
did
the other thing I realized when I went to start editing video is when you were here before, your wife Lori was taping the entire thing, and I got audio off of what she was doing, but we have no audio whatsoever of anything that we did that day.
Yeah.
And you had recommended next time you go flying, get somebody else's phone and turn on the audio recording and then sync it up later.
Yeah, it's actually easier
or do it out of my own phone simultaneously.
So on your iPhone, you can actually turn on screen recording while you're flying the drone, and so you'll have both the video from the drone and you'll have the video from your phone with the audio of you talking. That's actually what I recommend, but we didn't do it. So whether I recommended it or not, we didn't do it. So but it was actually a great afternoon, and I kind of like that we just kind of played a little bit and didn't focus on getting video for this channel or for this. I know that sucks for the people who come here to watch this, But it was actually kind of nice just relaxing and flying a drone. So I hope you and Rich do that a lot and
Yeah,
don't focus on editing and making videos every time. Just get
have
good at
fun.
it. Enjoy yourself, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
intend to.
Good.
The other bizarre idea I had, there's certain prompts in the software that it talks to you. It says, your battery is at 50%, or
Right.
there's little voice prompts.
Yep.
With that feather, I could put some sort of a soundboard on top of that, and it could actually give me audio feedback. It could say, switching to mode 1, switching to mode
Yeah.
2,
Because you
turning
got
on
the
cameras,
when
turning
you have
off
the download
cameras.
on, you can't see a damn thing.
Yeah, and so down the road, I might play around with that, because that would be cool to have little recordings of voice prompts to tell you what it is you were doing, so
Yep.
that when you hit the button right, it really did work.
And if you are using the NRF 52840, it actually has a DAC output. I think I'm gonna take a look. I have mine right in front of me. I think it does. I think that the A0 on the NRF 52840. Look what I have in front of me, Chris. Look what I have. The NRF
The board that
52840 with stacking
was taking
headers.
headers. Put it in the
I
mail,
don't even
dude.
have to solder this up for you. I just got to ship it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I look on here, it looks like A0 actually is, I think it is a DAC, in which case you can use that to drive an amplifier and a speaker directly. So,
Yeah.
all right. So I think that's the other things that we did out there were maintenance, right? We had a broken sling ring you needed fixed and a couple
Just
other things, but
tinkered around with a few things.
yeah. And I was actually out in Indiana delivering a truck. I was a truck delivery person for a variety, for a very complicated reason, but it's done, and that's great. So thanks for joining me, Chris. I'm going to move to, I did your stuff. I want to talk a little bit about Dimitri's work, and then I have a couple tips to show you. So let's talk about Dimitri's stuff first. There we go. All right. So if you guys remember, Dimitri Votanchev is one of our friends here who did all of the really high-end, really ridiculous soldering work, the tiny devices. And he sent me this yesterday, and I'm like, I happen to be going live tomorrow. I'll be happy to share it. This is actually a tiny joystick, which he said is compatible with the Switch, the XAC. It also can be a joystick for any HID input. This is a super light 2-button switch that is significantly lighter and configurable than the Microlight by using a strain gauge. He's been working on this for a lot. He has a prototype that he'd like to get people to test with. And I think there's one more picture. Maybe there's just the 3. There's just the 3. So, but he is looking, as you see here, he says the next step is for him is to gather real world feedback from the users. He's made this request several times, but do you think I could ping these over to Chris Young and maybe someone else through me? Yes. So if you guys think that a very light touch switch or a little tiny joystick, and this is really small. This is the width of a USB port, right? So this is a USB-C port. This is a very small joystick. If you think it would be useful, if you'd like to be one of the folks that are beta testy kind of people, let me know. Let me know through DM or post on the comments on this video. I'll be keeping an eye on them. And let me see if I actually. The only problem that I have is that there are now 4 places I have to check to see if there are any comments. I gotta check Facebook group, the Facebook page, the YouTube, and the chat. So sorry, I gotta take a look. It looks like all the comments are here, Chris, and people are here. So Dimitri, thank you for all your work on this. We've got actually a lot from him that we need to get out and into testing. So I'm going to be talking with him tomorrow, and would love it if you guys would let me know if you're interested. Couple tips and things that I'm playing with that I want to show you guys. Let me set this up. So I got a device the other day from Adafruit in their AdaBox. If you guys have ever seen the AdaBox stuff, it's worth signing up for. You get a new device every quarter or so, and the one that I got today. Let me see if I can change my camera. All right, so I got this one. Actually, I got it yesterday, but I kind of knew I was going to be very into it. So let me close this and see if I can't get this nice and tight here. All right, so this is a thing called a macro pad, and what it really is a 240, a RP 240, Raspberry Pi 240, with a little OLED display and a little rotary encoder. So you can press this or you can turn it. And I've installed on it programming from John Edgar Park, who works for Adafruit. So this is a system that I didn't write any of this code. It's actually set up to send MIDI commands. So when I press this command here, it'll send a MIDI command. And what I learned, which is kind of neat, let's see if I can show, I think this, maybe this. Well, let's do this one first. So I've set up this system right here, which is OBS, which is what I use when I'm doing live streams that don't use StreamYard, which is what I'm using today. And I've set this up so that I use a tool called OBS MIDI, and it lets you map MIDI commands to control. So if I press this button, it'll go to that scene. That'll go to the second scene. And if I turn the knob, you'll see the right here, you'll see the mix thing right here go, the mic aux go up and down. And this is really cool. So what this lets you do is, rather than using keystrokes or your mouse to control OBS, it's using MIDI. And what's wonderful with that is that it doesn't matter where the focus on your screen is. Wherever you press it, it goes. So this thing right here, this thing right here, I think we're going to use this for lots of things. This has an awful lot in it. If you have any fine motor at all, if you have, for example, MS, or maybe you've got limitations on the number of activation points. Maybe you can just point like single finger stuff, but you can't move a mouse effectively. This thing can be a mouse, a keyboard, a gamepad, an Xbox adaptive controller input, and you've got kind of a lot. So you've got 12 buttons. These are just normal keypad buttons. You've got a rotary controller that you can press and get a input in here, and you have something where you can show status. So you can actually get a ton of different modes, whatever you want to program on this thing. And I think we're going to be using this. I think this will be a part of our AT tool set going forward. So this is one tip, is to take a look at this. You can buy a macro pad, and then they just came out with the AdaBox. So I think you can actually probably still buy the AdaBox if you want to. You'll see me playing with this going forward, making custom buttons for it. They've got a set of Braille buttons for it. I think there's a lot of things we could actually do with this. So that's one. And then let me change my screen, change my camera again, and show you the other thing that I've been doing recently that I really was surprised at how useful it was. So I have a brother-in-law, Tom Therian, who's got MS. And after I did the interview I did with the MS Society, he and I actually were talking, and he was giving me some of the challenges that he's facing. And in his case, a lot of it had to do with his mouse and the fact that as the day went on, he couldn't hold his fingers off of the right mouse button, so it was constantly hitting it, and so he didn't have the control that he needed. Not to mention the timing on a double click was really hard to get down right. And so we started looking at other solutions. We actually made a little Instamorph ramp that holds his hand off the mouse. But I also found this other program, which actually I want to show you guys. Let me see if I can just share the program rather than the whole screen. That way you can see it better. I want to share just this. Okay. So this is a program called X Mouse Button Control, and it is really cool. It's free. They ask for donations, and it's worth giving donations for. But what it does is it lets you completely remap everything about your mouse, right? So you can say, if I go down here, I can say, I want the right mouse button to do nothing. That right there made a huge difference with Tom in that he wasn't constantly hitting the right mouse button by mistake. But you can do other things. You can say, for example, we also said that on his left mouse button, right? You can also say when I hold, right? So when I hold down the left mouse button, right? So it says button held. Okay, so what do I want it to do? So normal click is a left click, but if I hold it for, let's say, a whole second, then I want it to do a double click, right? So you can basically completely remap what your mouse does. And the thing that blew me away is that this is great, and you can have multiple layers. You can map everything you can imagine about your mouse. But what's super cool about it is you can go in here and add, let's say, okay, when I'm in Chrome, here's a different set of rules. So when I'm in Chrome, I want the right mouse button to, I don't know, scroll the window down. Okay. So now if I hit apply and I close this, when I'm in Chrome, I just closed what I'm sharing. Hold on. Let me share my screen again. When I'm in Chrome, my right click is now going to scroll down. So I just hit a right click here. But if I'm in any other application, it's not. So the ability to do this kind of mapping. So first, I happen to know Chris O'Dowd is here. So first things first, Chris O'Dowd, show this to the people at Microsoft and have them put it in the damn operating system. But at least it's there. At least you've given the API so that somebody could write this custom app that does this. So if we go back to this mouse app, there you go. So you can't see. There you go. So in here, I can go in and say, all right, I'll get rid of this custom one. By default, I don't want the long press to be a mouse. I can have it say, don't change anything. But you can do a ton here. This is something where I think you can map a button press or a wheel click to send specific keystrokes. You can change it to change the brightness up and down, or activate or deactivate a screensaver. You can change virtual desktops. It's huge what you can do with this. So I will share the link in this, but the site for it is right here. It's out of the UK. It's called X Mouse Button Control. They do ask you for a donation, but it also is free. They're just donations. I did want to point that out as a tip that I definitely want you guys to know about, because to me, this was a game changer for Tom. So let me get out of this. Any questions about that, post them in the comments. And then the last thing I want to tell you guys about is kind of why the image for this had, I think we're going to lose Jonathan. Oh, no. The image for this had a picture of, let me see if I can bring it up. I'm not sure I have it up anymore. Such a slacker. Bring up the image again. So it had, really, I stink. All right. So it had this image on it right here. And the reason it has this image on it is because that is Stetson's law school. And I know this is going to be really weird for me to be talking about this, but I have been accepted to Stetson's law school. And I know that's a weird thing to tell you guys, but especially given that I'm old and decrepit. But I did. So when I got out of the hospital and Lori and I were talking about what to do and how we should, what I should be spending my time on, you can blame some of this on Resna and some of it on Lori, the rest of it on me. But we did get to the point where she recommended that if I was going to do something else right now, I should go to law school. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It was one of my options before I went to engineering school. I was looking at being a lawyer. It's something that I think I will enjoy. Law school itself, not necessarily being a lawyer, but the school itself. I will, so Chris O'Dowd says that's a pivot. Yeah, yes, it is. It is something I think I will enjoy the actual schooling of it. I will learn things that are in a different area, but I also think it's something that might help this group. And part of that is, so first let me tell people, I don't think I'm going to be spending any less time on ATMakers. And in fact, I don't even think I'm going to spend that much less time on the technical part of ATMakers. I have room in my life to pull from other things, I think. But it is something I think ATMakers needs. We regularly have questions that I can't seem to find lawyers to answer about product liability, about the liability of the charity when it's doing things like helping people drive power chairs and things like that. That's not enough of a reason to go to school. Another reason is the fact that I am doing a lot more advocacy. I'm doing advocacy for folks like Chris, a lot of people who are currently being very well advocated for by their parents. As we're seeing, they will eventually need advocacy to be able to get the benefits they need, to be able to get the environment they need to thrive. In addition, and I don't want to overstate this, ATMakers till now has been working through a side door, right? So we find makers to make devices that aren't currently on the market or aren't accessible or aren't affordable. We introduce people who are makers to people who need them, and it's wonderful. It still is the mission of this group. But there are issues in both the disability community and in the assistive technology community that really should be addressed head on. There are issues about getting support for people through the Medicaid system, which is where Chris is trying to solve that problem. There are issues about funding and the amount of proof of efficacy that needs to be done in order to get devices that are being actively advocated for in the wrong direction right now. Right, so the lawyers that are working on assistive technology are trying to get things funded, which is good, but also keep the funding very high and keep the prices on these devices very high. And I don't see that changing in the near future. So this is also partly about being better armed to do that advocacy, both on the individual side and perhaps on the actual legislative side. So I'm going to do this, and I don't know if I will finish it. I don't know if I'll finish the program. I don't know if I'll become a lawyer after I do finish getting the degree. But I am certain that I will get a lot out of this semester. I'm taking torts and contracts, both of which I need to know more about. Torts is liability and civil law, civil lawsuits. And contracts is something that I deal with just from the lesson pick side. I deal with contracts far too often to be as poorly armed as I am. So I am going to do that. And I will be I will be in this place, that place, a lot over the next few years. So I hope this is something where I can bring more to this group. I hope you guys will forgive me if it does eat into my time more than it should. Jonathan, if you're still there, can I bring you on for a second?
Sure.
So here, let me bring you out like this. So everybody, if you don't know Jonathan Lasco, he's one of our administrators and Max's dad, Kristen's husband, and has been around since the very beginning of this mess. As we made Ella and Max's power chair controller. So I will probably lean on you and Erica and some other folks to try and keep the organization of this place going, because I think I will probably have less time for it. So I'm sorry. Do you have any? We haven't talked about this yet. Did you know I was going to law school?
No, this is the first I've heard of it. I have a big grin on my face because I really I admire and am inspired by and in some ways relate to your eyes always being larger than your current plate and saying, oh, I want that next thing. So that's really cool. I know we've talked going back years about some of these issues and how they intersect the legal component, the legal domain. And as my brother Zach Lasco, who does music lessons, specialized music lessons for kids and adults with disabilities, says, if you really want to get things done, get a law degree. So that makes a lot of sense. And I'm a little jealous of you, but my plate is definitely way too full to contemplate something like that. However, keeping the lights on at ATMakers, keeping the flag waving and the excitement going and the plate spinning is something that I care a lot about. So I definitely want to talk more with you offline and with Erica and others, and we'll see how to make that happen. Because yeah, the mission of ATMakers, connecting makers and people who have these really interesting and challenging and fun assistive technology problems together. It's still a match made in heaven. There's still these great collaborations that happen, and the partners that we've found along the way with Adafruit and others. Those collaborations are really exciting. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so none of that's going to stop, right? I think that one of the things that I found, and it's going to sound, I don't know how to make this sound modest, so just bear with me for a second, Jonathan. What I found is that being somebody with an engineering background who has now deep knowledge of AT, having the combination of that in one person has been very helpful, because it means, I don't know how to say it, nobody can bullshit you. Nobody can claim that this is very difficult and that's why it's expensive or things like that. What I would love to find is somebody from the ATMakers perspective. I would love to find somebody with deep knowledge of AT who's an attorney. But the only people even remotely like that I find are deep in the disability world in their home, right? They're people like you who they can't jump into this. I have the unfortunate luxury of not being deep into this at home, right? So I've been a parent of a child with special needs, but I'm not anymore. I have the luxury of being able to do this and spend the time and actually get the skills necessary to help with this. I hope, and I might not. I will tell you all, and Jonathan, especially you and Chris, I'm going to do a semester. And at the end of the semester, if this is not working, if I'm not enjoying it, if this is not something I want to do, I'm going to leave. And I'm not going to feel bad about it at all, okay? Because this is either going to work or it's not. I'm not going to stick it out for 4 years because of pride here. I'm too old for that crap. But I definitely am going to start with this. And I'll tell you, I was invited just from applying. I have made contacts that are going to be super helpful. Right? There's a elder law professor, Rebecca Morgan, at Stetson, who sent me an invitation to a disability and elder law conference that Stetson runs every year. Right? And well, yeah, we should be there. Right? We should be talking about ABLE accounts and talking about special needs trusts and things like that. our community should have representation there. Maybe not ATMakers, but our members overlap with people who need information on that. So I think it's going to be very useful. I think it might be very fun, or it might be awful. I'll know by the end of the semester. I will finish the semester one way or the other, and we will have another chat at the end of the about November, right, Thanksgiving.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
You may be able to disabuse me of one of my fantasies. Oh, I'll just chuck it all and go to law school. You're like, no, don't do that. It won't work.
We'll
Takes a
find
special
out.
kind of person, I'm sure, and you're special, Bill. So this is a cool step for you. I'm excited.
Yeah, I hope this works out. I don't see any questions coming in on the Facebook or YouTube. Probably the people who care about this aren't here, or they've left because we bored them to tears. But Chris, thank you for joining us. I see you're still here, but you're muted. I know we talked about this when I was in Indiana, so I know you're on board with this plan. But Giannis, I'm glad you are as well.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a. We'll find out. It's an interesting thing to try. How about that? And we'll see if it's a great idea over the next few months. I think it might be. Lori will tell you. I keep looking ahead at what I'm going to be learning over. It's only 2 classes, right? It's torts and contracts, but I'm going to enjoy a great deal of them. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Anybody has any question on that? Let me know. And as far as the other things, I will put a link to the X mouse control app. And Chris, I'm gonna send you the raw video for the drone stuff, and you can put something together, and you'll post it to ATMakers, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then Ian, when you see this, make yours as well. I'd love to see a video of you sailing on the high seas using our tools. Dimitri, you and I will talk over the next few days. Everybody else at the ATMakers, thank you for being a part of this and paying attention, as whether it's now or later. And reach out to me if you have any questions about what we're doing. I do want to get into more of these going forward, more chats going forward. We've been out of the loop. I've been out of the state. And I think you'll probably see me every couple weeks going forward. So thank you guys for your time, and I will talk to you all later. I used to say good luck and have fun whenever I ended the lesson picks videos. I guess good luck and have fun. Bye.